you have not seen my vlog of my solo trip to Jamaica, stop this right now. Don't even listen to the rest of this video, the rest of the words that are coming out of my mouth. Ooh, and there's a whole crystal right here. Yep, let's remove that. Okay. If you haven't seen that, just go watch that first. It's really nice and informative, and then you can, you know, make your own opinions of the property and what I've shown you, and then come back, watch this, where I will talk about customer service, cleanliness, food, security, safety, COVID protocols, the amenities. Hi, thanks for joining. Welcome back. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for all of your love and support. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Cheyenne. I'm the face behind Soulful Soothe, and today's video will be a review of Ocean Eden Bay, Coral Spring, that property in Trelawny, Jamaica. If you have not seen my vlog of my solo trip to Jamaica, stop this right now. Don't even listen to the rest of this video, the rest of the words that are coming out of my mouth. Ooh, and there's a whole crystal right here. Yep, let's remove that. Okay. If you haven't seen that, just go watch that first. It's really nice and informative, and then you can, you know, make your own opinions of the property and what I've shown you, and then come back, watch this, where I will talk about customer service, cleanliness, food, security, safety, COVID protocols, the amenities, the location in terms of like the proximity to different things. And yeah, so the reason why I decided to sit down and make this video is because I noticed a lot of the comments on that video and possibly some of the dislikes were because people often conflate a review and a vlog when it comes to traveling and like travel content on YouTube. So I think a lot of times people watch these vlogs and they look for a review, i.e. all of those things that I mentioned and other things of a specific property or a location, whereas the purpose of a vlog is to just showcase that person's experience through their lens, through their eyes, whatever. So I will, instead of me talking about my experience in Jamaica, I'm talking about my experience specifically at this property. Again, the property that I stayed at was Ocean Eden Bay. It is the adults only side of the property. So you have two hotels right next to each other. In the industry, they call it like stay at one, play at all, or something like that. On the other side, you have Ocean Coral Spring, which is like the family side. So if you have children, you go over there. If you want more of a vacation, those kind of vibes, adults only, you go to the Eden side. So first, let's talk about customer service. Customer service was hit or miss at this property. I've stayed at several other resorts. That was my third time in Jamaica. Like I said, it was hit or miss. And of course, customer service can be hit or miss absolutely anywhere. I think one of the misunderstandings in my vlog was that people thought I was trying to say that Jamaica as a whole had poor customer service. And of course, I wasn't brushing that generalization on an entire country, on an entire island. That's not what I was saying. The stereotype for Jamaica in general has always been that customer service is no bueno. That's just the stereotype. And I think that's because of the cultural difference between Americans and Jamaicans. In America, we have this very flawed view, and I say this as a consumer, a customer, and as a business owner myself, that the customer is always right. And that's just simply not true. Sometimes customers can be rude. I worked in food service industry before, so I know this experience firsthand. I have yet to have a rude customer in my own business, but when I was working in the service industry, I've had so many poor customer service experiences on the other side. Like legit, I was in college and I was working at Wendy's and had someone throw their order in the drive-through window, throw that shit at me. So like, no, the customer is not always right. But back to the resort, the customer service was definitely hit or miss. When it came to the men on the property, I never touched a door, and I was traveling by myself. So I did not feel like they were trying to flirt with me or get at me or anything like that. It's interesting because like I think the cultural implications have a lot to do with it. So like in America, we expect, again, using that word strategically, we expect the customer to be absolutely catered to. We expect people to go above and beyond just because we're paying our dollar. And I mean, I guess that's fine. You can have that expectation, but just realize that that might not be the reality. When it came to the women on property, that part was very touch and go. Now, I will say my housekeeper, the one who was like cleaning the floor that I was on, she was top notch. I mean, baby girl took care of me like I was her niece or her own daughter. Like, literally restocked my towels. I was very, trying to be very accommodating to her and be like, you don't have to come and clean my room every day. I'm fine. I don't need too much. Like, you can, skip this room. It's fine. But she would wait for me to go to the pool or go to breakfast in the morning, and she would still come in and make sure I had extra towels, extra water, tidy up. If she saw something on the floor, she would pick it up and play. She took care of me. But when it came to the women staff that were at the restaurants or just like around the property, nope, it was a miss and it was a no-go. So customer service on a scale of like 1 to 5, I would say customer service was a good 3. Now, I've watched so many reviews and blogs on the property before I even booked. So I know that this is something that the hotel has been critiqued on before. A personal experience, I think this was the first full day. Sidebar, if I'm like spacey, it's because this trip was like in March and it is now June. So I'm like, when even was that? But I think it was the first full day that I was there. I did not know that they had a mask mandate at the hotel because in Jamaica, like countrywide, they had just lifted the mask mandate the day prior. So I didn't know that as a business, they made the decision to keep the mask mandate in place. I'm fully vaccinated, by the way, so I wasn't really concerned about catching the vid or anything like that. But I walked up to a restaurant, I was trying to get some food, and the girl was like, you need a mask. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry, like I didn't know, do you have masks here? Because like in the US, again, cultural implications in the US, most businesses, I mean, we've been in this pandemic for 3 years at this point almost. So like most businesses, if they require masks, they will have masks just in case if someone comes and they're like, oh, I don't have a mask. They provide you with a mask and then you can still patron their business. Well, she didn't have any more masks. I was like, okay, well, what other restaurant options do I have or whatever? And she was like, you can go to such and such. And I was like, well, I don't know where that's at. Like, this is my first full day. So do I just walk this way? And like, without even looking up from her clipboard, she was like, yeah, And I just felt so disrespected. That like rubs me the wrong way. And that wasn't the only like poor customer service experience, but that was the one that like really stood out the most. Oh, I just lied. No, it wasn't. The one poor customer service situation that stood out the most for me was I was trying to walk to get my COVID test. And again, I said I was traveling alone, so I was walking by myself. And this man was like, excuse me. Now, I had an appointment book, so I'm like running, trying to get there. And this man's like, excuse me. And I like turn around because I'm like, did I drop something? Like, is something wrong? And he's like, I don't even remember what the fuck he was trying to ask me. I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to go get my COVID test. And he's like, why do Americans do that? Why do tourists do that? Like, what, do I look like a mean person? And it's like, sir, why did you just take that so personally? Like, I'm literally telling you that I have somewhere to be. I don't have time to sit and fraternize. And again, I think that's a cultural difference, whereas like in the islands, in the Caribbean, everyone is like super relaxed, super chill. Appointment times are not mandatory, they're suggestions. And so people are very lax. Like I've seen this so many times. Again, I've been to Jamaica 3 times. I'm a frequent of the Caribbean. I go to Mexico almost every single year, sometimes twice, 3 times a year. So I've seen this, but a lot of times, like on the side of the road, people like stop and see their cousin or whatever. They will park in the middle of the street and block other people. Like they'll try to pull over as much as possible, but they don't have streets that are as wide in the US. And so it's like, oh, well, we're just having a conversation, and people may be slightly annoyed, but not as annoyed as an American would be if that were to happen here. Now let's talk about cleanliness. Everything was very, very clean. Everything was clean. I didn't have any issues, no dirty silverware, no messes in the food hall, no like weird smells or anything like that. Everything was clean. So I have absolutely no complaints. I would rate the cleanliness of the property a 5 out of 5. The beach it wasn't dirty, but it just was not much of a beach. It was a man-made beach, and it was very rocky. So if you're looking for a hotel or a location that has a really good beach, this might not be the one for you because there just ain't much beach. Let's talk about the food. The food was good at the restaurants that I got the opportunity to go to. One critique that I have about the restaurants on property is that I feel like the restaurants were built first before they added the adults only side. The adults only side of the property is fairly new. I want to say it's like less than 2 years old, but it just seems like those restaurants were built for a smaller occupancy. And so a lot of the places I couldn't get into. Like I wanted to try like 3 different restaurants and just couldn't get into. Specifically Secura, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that was one of the like more popular restaurants on the property. It's the Japanese restaurant. Every single night there was a long ass line. You just knew that you would have to wait for a really long time before you could eat. Now, when it comes to resort food, it's always like, just because they're trying to cook for a bunch of people, just like any like school cafeteria, any public cafeteria, they're trying to cook food for a big amount of people. And so everyone's taste buds are different, and it's hard to cater to everyone's specific desires, I guess. Let's talk about safety and security. I felt 100% safe. I did not feel unsafe at any point. Now, I will say, like, I am very adventurous, and I'm originally from Chicago, so, like, I guess my sense of safety is a lot different from other people. So, like, if you are someone who grew up in a rural town in middle of America, i.e. Iowa, Oklahoma, Utah, Montana, someplace like that, your sense of safety is going to be a lot different than mine, right? Also, I'm just a very like loner type person. I live by myself, and most things just don't scare me. Of course, I have my wits about myself, but I'm just not that type of person. I'm not as, what's the word I'm looking for? Skeptical as most foreigners look at Americans. Because a lot of times, like, foreigners will just try to like talk to you when you're out of the country, and they get met with like skeptical stares. And Americans are just generally, the stereotype is that we're very untrusting of other people. But I felt safe the whole time. There was security always present. Like outside of my building, I was in building 1, I think. Outside of my building, there was always a security guard like at each like entrance, because there were like several different entrances on the building. There was always a security guard. So I felt safe the entire time, had no issues. Honestly, I feel more safe when I'm out the country, and I say this after we just had, I've lost count of how many mass shootings we've had in the last week alone in America. So, yeah. Okay, now when it comes to COVID protocols, okay, let me go back. Safety and security, I would rate 5 out of 5. I don't know if I said that. COVID protocols, I would rate the COVID protocols 5 out of 5 because, like, now I guess this is controversial too, but like, I wasn't concerned about my health or anything like that. One, because I'm vaccinated and I am very antisocial when it comes to other humans sometimes. So like, I was practicing social distancing before it was a thing, right? Masking up, all of that. So I didn't feel unsafe. They made you wear a mask to get into every restaurant, but of course, like if you're outside, like on the beach or at the pool or whatever, no one was like, where's your mask? They did have COVID testing on site, but it was not free, and I did not like that because as an American, again, cultural implications, COVID testing is free everywhere. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I can just go and find a COVID test for free like that, right? So that was like one little thing. I will say the COVID testing, like the logistics of it was very chaotic and very frustrating. Like they would give you an appointment time, and this goes back to what I said about the customer service. Like when I was talking about like the cultural implications of like American expectations versus island kind of lifestyle. Times are suggestions. Appointment times are not etched in stone, you know? Like in America, you say, oh, we're having a meeting at 3:30. Like most people are showing up at, 3:20, 3:25 just so that they're not late. Whereas when I went for my COVID test, there were people who were there like an hour before me. A COVID test should take all of 10 minutes, in my opinion. You fill out the form, you put the thing up your nose, you put in a little thing, and you go about your day. But no, it was a whole thing. It was a bunch of confusion. Like you had to fill out a form before you came, and then once you got there, they asked you to physically fill out a form. I was like, what the fuck is this form for? They're like, oh, it's a waiver, like saying that you have consent to do da. I was like, this is chaotic and unorganized. And as a Virgo rising, I was like, I'm so over this. But I will say COVID protocols on the property were top notch. It just is what it is, right? So I would say 5 out of 5. Now, when it comes to amenities, let's talk about amenities. When I'm talking about amenities, I want to also include like the infrastructure of the property. So right off the bat, I would just give that rating a 3.5 out of 5, because there were a lot of, and as with other things, I'll be inserting clips as I go, but there were just little details that they like messed out or missed out on or did very sloppily. So like in the bathroom of my room, like in the shower, like the grout was not neat. It was not orderly. It's a newer property, so I would expect things to look new, and it looked lived in. It looked like it had been, up and running for like 10, 15 years. That's what it looked like. Specifically the bathroom sink. Now, they do offer upgrades, so I think their upgrade is called Privilege. They had separate restaurants for them, and I did not get a chance to look at what their rooms looked like, so I can't speak on that. But as someone who has frequented resorts, my rule of thumb is I am not upgrading if you can't get the basics right. So if you can't make sure that, your bathroom looks neat, like your basic level stuff, if that doesn't look up to par, that makes me question, like, why would I want to willingly spend extra money for you to treat me better than you treat the rest of the people? when it comes to, okay, comparing, because I'm a secrets girl. That's my resort of choice. When it comes to secret, the basic level is top tier. It's lovely. My first secrets resort was Cabo, I want to say. I didn't upgrade. I paid the regular standard room package, whatever, and I still was given champagne upon arrival. A cool towel to, cool my face because it was hot. Now, because they were doing that at the basic level, I was like, well, damn, what you got to offer for the upgrade? And that's just me personally. So when it comes to amenities, I would give them a 3.5 out of 5 because it was just like, I will say the resort itself is very cute. It's very picturesque. Like, you can easily take so many, like photos in inconspicuous areas, and it was pretty nice. It looked good. What else? Oh, there's a lazy river. That's something that I have not seen at other resorts, and I think that that's something that sets them apart from other resorts. The spa, I did get a massage. Homegirl knocked some knots out my shoulders. Loved her for that. Bless her. Bless the liver, as my grandmother would say. Now, location. I don't know why they say that Ocean Eden or Ocean Coral is in Montego Bay, because it absolutely is not. It's a good 45 minutes away, I want to say. 45 minutes an hour. So, and when I say away from Montego Bay, I mean like away from the airport. Like, you get your bags, you get out, and you go, right? So that just gives you like proximity, because I know a lot of times when people are planning trips to resorts, they want to know like how far is the hotel or the resort from the airport so that I can prepare myself. Because sometimes the nicer resorts are like an hour 45, 2 hours, sometimes 3. The most I've ever heard someone traveling by car after a flight is like 4 hours. And I was just like, I don't know if I could do that. But just throwing that out there as an option. So location, I would say location is a good 4, because I feel like 45 minutes can go by so quickly, especially if you're going to a place that you don't know, like you've never been, because you can like talk to the driver and like get the scenery and take it all in, and it's like an excursion without really being an excursion. So the proximity, I would definitely say, is like a 4.5 out of 5 for that. I went off property twice, technically once, because I did all of my excursions on the first day before I checked in, because my flight landed super early. Excuse me. So I just met my tour guide right after the flight, and then she took me straight to the hotel after that. But I want to say it was like my second to last day. I was like, I want to try this KFC, because I've been here 2 times before and people are always talking about KFC in the Caribbean. I've never done it, so I was determined. Now, I will say, the resort from the closest KFC was only all of a 15-minute ride, right? But it was a $60 round trip taxi. And I was like, the math ain't mathing. Like, is gas more expensive here than it is in the US? Like, what's going on? Why am I paying $60 to go to KFC? So when I say in the blog that was a $75 KFC, that's what I mean. Because I maybe spent $15 on the KFC and $60 on the damn taxi. I was like, this is ridiculous. But, when you're traveling, you're just like, it's an experience, whatever. So the proximity is the location of the hotel is really close to a lot of different things. I think it's closest to Martha Brae, which is like the very popular touristy river where people go river rafting. I would personally recommend, if you are more of a country girl like myself, I would recommend that you go to Lethe River. It was a really nice experience. It was cheaper. and less crowded. Martha Brae is generally crowded because that is the like touristy spot. Now, overall, what I would give the hotel, the property, I would give them a 4. And I say this because of expectations. Like, you have to be very aware of like what your expectations are of a resort before you're going. I knew that this was not a 5-star resort, so my expectations were not up here, okay? I wasn't going to a Secrets. I wasn't going to a Waldorf. Like, so my expectations were not up there. Overall, I think the resort is beautiful, but when I go next time, like go back to Jamaica, like I will not be staying there. I'll probably be staying at a Royalton, probably in Negril, because I haven't been to Negril yet. So I feel like I covered a lot. My throat is starting to hurt from talking so damn much. But if I left anything out, please just comment a question and I would be more than happy to answer. Thank you so much if you made it to the end of the video. Leave me some green and purple hearts in the comments. All right, love y'all. Ciao.